I'd like to remind you of the statement from Texas A&M Director of Athletics, Eric Hyman. The focus of our coaches and student athletes is solely on preparing for Rice this Saturday and in the best interest of Texas A&M and the 100-plus student athletes on the team. I have instructed Coach Sumlin, his staff, and our student athletes to refrain from commenting on or answering questions regarding the status of our starting quarterback, Johnny Manziel. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Coach Sumlin for opening comment. And if you would, please identify yourself and the media outlet when you ask questions for Coach Sumlin. Coach?
Thanks, AC. Good afternoon. No, it's just like everybody else in the country on game week. We're excited. Our kids are excited, team's excited, fans, everybody to finally play. You know, this is a time of year where guys work extremely hard, particularly down here in this part of the country, battling heat and a time for this team to come together. You know, Larry Jackson, our strength and conditioning coordinator, did an excellent job with this football team during the summer. He handed us a group of guys who were in great physical condition and really started to mold them mentally and develop some mental toughness for this football team. And that's important going into this year because, you know, we signed 31 new players. Actually, we signed 32. We lost one to the Minnesota Twins late in the summer. And so we've got 31 newcomers on this roster, which means that more than a third of our football team's brand new. So what Larry Jackson and his staff did this summer was critical for our success through two-a-days because a bunch of those guys are going to have to play critical minutes for us. I think going into this Saturday, all the fans need to bring either buy a program or get a flip card because there's going to be a bunch of new numbers out there on the field. You know, we didn't bring these guys here to stand next to me, which will be a challenge. You know, Rice is a football team that returns 19 fifth-year seniors, 23 seniors total, all 5 starting linemen back. Taylor McArg, who we're very, very familiar with. At one time, he was committed to the University of Houston and changed his mind, went to Rice, is their 5th-year quarterback. A lot of guys back on defense. I know that they've had some injuries, but started the year with 9 of 11 back on defense. A very, very veteran football team that is well coached. Everybody knows my relationship with David Bailiff. Going back before we were head coaches, living in the same neighborhood in Houston. Extremely prideful team, prideful program. As I said, they won 5 in a row coming off of last season with a bowl win. And they will challenge and they're going to challenge as one of the better teams in Conference USA next year, and wouldn't be surprised for them to have a chance to win the league. So they'll come in here ready to go. Really just the opposite of our football team, a veteran football team that's played a lot of games, played together, and has all the pieces in place. And we've got a bunch of guys that we're going to still try to find out who we are with some of these young guys in some positions. The good news is they're very, very talented, a very, very talented group of young guys, and because of that, you know, as coaches, particularly at the collegiate level, you're going to battle some of that every year. And I think looking into Saturday, we'll know a lot more about our football team across the board at the end of that game than we do right now. Questions?
Over here to the right.
Kevin, Gabe Bach, TexAgs.com. How pleased have you been with Jokel and Kenny Hill just getting themselves prepared for whatever may or may not happen?
You know, I think if you go back through all of camp, you know, you really have Matt Jokel, who's taken, I think, 11 snaps in his career. Kenny, who just got here, and Johnny have taken the majority of the snaps. I think everybody can read into Matt Davis leaving a week ago. That was pretty obvious that the snap ratio changed at that point to really those 3 guys. And a decision had to be made. You know, 4 guys is you can't rep all those guys, and so you know that is still an ongoing competition. I think what we've done in the past and how we've trained quarterbacks, I think we've been successful doing that, and we have a method in how we do that. Anybody who's been around has seen us rotate players with the first team, has seen us rotate snaps with the first team. And because of that, I think it gives your team a chance to develop a relationship or a camaraderie with that first unit if something happens. So I've been pleased with both of their progress, and I've been pleased with all the quarterbacks' progress this camp. I think it's related. The key to it has been the new guys on the perimeter. You know, we've got a really solid offensive line, which takes a little bit of the pressure off of Matt and Kenny. And then, you know, when Johnny's taking snaps in there, when he is in there, he's really trying to help the perimeter guys. So our offensive line gives us an opportunity to rotate those quarterbacks and have them be comfortable. Does that make sense?
Down front.
Hi, Coach. Jen Engel, Fox Sports 1. A general coaching philosophical question. You hear coaches all the time talk about the balance between the needs of the player versus what is best for the team. What in your career has been your approach to that?
The needs for the player, what do you mean? Well, there's never been a question. I think that it's different as a football coach and playing football. Football is the ultimate team sport. There's 11 guys on the field at one time, but in every play there's an arrow. At least the ones in our playbook aren't designed for 1 or 2 yards. There's an arrow for them to score. If one of those guys doesn't do his job, then you're probably not going to be successful. So you have to balance that. But there's nothing more important than the team. And we sit in this room all the time, and I talk to these guys a bunch in this very room about the truth and what we expect of them on the field, what we expect of them off the field, what we expect of them effort-wise and accountability-wise, and being able to trust each other. So a lot of that never gets out. And just like a family, just like I said before the season, a lot of things that are said in this room as a football team don't get out, aren't supposed to get out, just like it would be in your own house. And our guys get that. And that gives us the opportunity to trust each other, gives us the opportunity to, I think, maximize our team's ability and our individual players' ability, because they know we don't have a hidden agenda. We don't play mind games with players. The best players play. If you demonstrate the ability to perform at a high level, and we can trust you on the field to do the things in practice and do that consistently, you're going to play, whether you've been here 5 years or 5 days. And because of that, I think that eliminates a lot of bickering, a lot of things that happen in the locker room. And as you said, the individual at that point understands what is important. And what's important is his value and to the team and how he helps our team win.
We'll go to the back and then down front.
Hey, Coach. Kevin O'Connor, WTAW in the Zone. You've spoken at length about the strength and conditioning programs in the offseason and during the season. How much faster does that allow the team to play after having a full year of that all together, after going through it now and staying in shape or at the speed and caliber of play that you guys run at?
Well, I think, everybody thought I was joking last year about the difference in what a strength and conditioning program like the one we have can make with a team that, you've got to have some luck, but you also have to have a plan in place to develop that sort of physical toughness, that sort of endurance in the style that we play. And I think, after looking back on last year, there's no question that made a difference throughout the season, particularly with the lack of depth that we had. You wouldn't have 32 open roster spots at the end of the season if we had that kind of depth. So, I'm a firm believer that, that physical toughness, that physical endurance bleeds over into mental toughness. And the old fatigue makes cowards of us all. That's about as true as anything there is out there. So it has a huge effect on our program, and it enables us to be able to do some things during two-a-days during fall camp instead of getting guys in shape, not worrying about that. That's already taken care of, and now we're in the teaching process. We're in the getting better process, and there's no question that Larry Jackson and his staff give us the ability to do that.
Over here to the left, and then we'll go down front.
Christy Reekin from the Associated Press. A lot of people might find it odd that you lost a top pick in the draft off your offensive line, and it's still going to be probably one of the strengths this year. Can you just talk about the depth you have and how important that is on the offensive line?
Well, I hope that remains the case forever, that we can lose a number one pick and keep that kind of depth. If we could do that across the board, then we're really headed somewhere. You have to be able to, there's really three parts to this. The recruiting phase, which obviously Coach Sherman did a great job of going out and evaluating offensive linemen. Then the second phase, to me, is the developmental phase. And when it comes to different positions, particularly in the offensive line, it gets back to your question about strength and conditioning. How do you do that? What is your goal in your strength and conditioning program? How do you train those guys? What are you looking for? And then the third thing is coaching and putting them in a position to be successful, having a scheme, having a coach like B.J. Anderson that can give them the techniques that they need to continue to get better. So all those things work hand in hand. And, hopefully, that is what you're striving to do across the board in your program, to recruit, develop, and coach players that have the ability to really play at that level. And, all three of those things work hand in hand. And if you get all three of them going in the right direction, which I think we do in certain positions, not just that position on the team, but in a bunch of positions across the board, that gives you a real chance to be successful in any program.
Down front.
Brent Swarneman, San Antonio Express and News Houston Chronicle. How vital is a role to a program's success what Ben Molina did for you in the offseason in terms of the type of senior leader he was and going into his senior season as a leader of this offense?
But, Ben has been a guy who has been a leader for us pre-senior year. Last year he was on all the special teams. Really kind of a controversial deal when we played him ahead of Christian Michael. He accepted that role and really excelled. So, to me, he's been a leader by example up until this offseason. And we've had some discussions and some talks about him stepping out and becoming more of a vocal leader, which he's already led the team by example. Now he's a guy that people will follow because of what he's done on the field. On a team like this, as I said, we're just the opposite of Rice. We don't have a whole bunch of seniors, but we do have some really talented young players. And leadership, sure, it starts with the coaches, but real leadership comes from the locker room also. And that's where guys like Ben and Mike Evans, guys like that who are in there day by day to tell them, hey, listen, here's how we won games. Not just playing the game, but what we're doing before the game, during the week, during camp, how we approach it. That becomes very, very important. And Ben Molina is a great example of that, and he's doing a great job leading this football team.
To the right, and then we'll go to Mark in the middle.
Suzanne Halliburton, Austin American Statesman. Kevin, on some housekeeping issues, your athletic director on Saturday said that Ravens and Everett would be suspended for a game and a half a game. What game is that? Because they're on your depth chart as is
It's the Rice game. The depth chart came out last week.
So how accurate is your depth chart?
The depth chart came out last week.
Well, so subject
About
to
as accurate
change?
as everybody else's.
Okay.
Okay, Mark.
Coach, Mark Schwartz,
You
ESPN,
bet.
how are you?
Great.
Given the Aggie code of honor, that an Aggie does not lie, does not cheat, does not steal, and does not tolerate those who do, what is your decision, the university's decision, to name Johnny Manziel your starting quarterback, say about your belief that he is telling the truth in this story about profiting from autographs?
Well, I think we just covered that earlier.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
when you're asking me about the decision for Johnny to play, we're not discussing that. And you know, I thought that we went over that right from the
Made that
beginning.
statement? Yes. All right.
Hey,
Caitlin?
Coach. Kate, sorry, go ahead.
Well, my question was about the code of honor and whether the code of honor sort of has everything to do with how that decision will be made.
I can't talk about how that decision is going to be made, and what goes into that decision. You know, I said from day one, the first day, there'll be a lot of people involved in that decision. So what goes into how that decision's made, obviously I can't discuss.
Kate?
Coach, Kate Heropoulos, Dallas Morning News. You've said that you're happy with Johnny's focus the past 3 or 4 weeks. Do you think football's been a refuge for him, considering all that has been swirling around the program and him?
You know, I think he likes to play. I know he likes to play football. I think you know, the structure that he has had since August 4th has done nothing but help him. I think you know, when you're inside of this situation, I think this probably sounds hard to believe, but you know, just talking to my dad, you know, he gets a lot more news than we get because we're not watching a whole bunch of television. We're in here up until last week. You know, we're in camp and we're here. Kids are here at 7:30 to eat, and we got 2-a-day practices. We got meetings. They're eating here. They're in this building until 9-10 o'clock at night. So, and they ought to be pretty tired when they get home because they got to do the same thing the next day. You know, school started Monday, so they're pretty regimented. I think outside, you probably have more access to a lot more news than these guys do. And because of that, the structure, the meeting, to practice, to eating, to lifting, all that stuff, to bed, I've been very, very pleased. I've been very pleased with the energy of practice. I've been very pleased with the focus of practice, not just from Johnny, but from our whole football team. And I think what it comes down to is that, you know, we have a plan as a football team, and I have a plan as a coach. We live in a different world. For a lot of people, things are rigid all the time. You know what's going to happen. As a coach, I can't tell you how many times we've gone into games with players where you have to make game time decisions. There have been a number of times last year where guys started and played football games that you didn't know that there was a possibility that they weren't going to play. And so we have a plan for that. We're working a plan for all of those situations, not just for quarterback, but for other positions. Our players understand that, our coaches understand that, and we're comfortable with it.
Right here to the left, Coach.
William Buchanan, Texas. Kevin, you know, aside from the quarterback situation, not referring to that at all, but and you've been talking about the talent of this class that you brought in. Do you anticipate any true freshman starters this week? And if so, are you prepared to reveal who they are?
Did David Bailiff send you? You want to know which freshmen are starting? I just told you the depth chart was accurate, right? As accurate as anybody else's. No, you know, we'll play. You know, like out of those 31 newcomers, I wouldn't be shocked to see double digits playing in this whole season. Maybe as high as 15, which you know, tells you where we are depth-wise. certainly at least 10 of them. I think special teams will give them a great opportunity to get on the field and give some of our older players a chance not to be covering every kick. You know, you look up last year, our guys are playing 100 and some snaps at La Tech, and Sean Porter and Jay Stu, and those guys were covering the kickoffs and on the punt team, and just we didn't have anybody. Now, you know, we've got some younger talented guys, but we've got to get them game ready. I'd look for a lot of those linebackers like Claiborne and Master Giovanni to be in there playing special teams. Sean Washington, a number of the DBs that can help us back there with Caesar and just a bunch of those guys because of the depth and the speed and athleticism they bring. Obviously, we signed a bunch of those wide receivers because we don't have the depth there. We've got 3 real primary guys coming back in Malcolm Kennedy, Mike Evans, who played some meaningful minutes. And Mike Evans is one of the better players in the country. Darrell Walker has seen some time, but we've got to have some depth there. So you'll probably see 4 or 5 of those guys there. So, yeah, they're going to get the opportunity, along with Cam Clear, who's a newcomer, who's going to have a definite impact on our program at tight end. And so, those, I wouldn't be surprised to see, 10 to 15 of those guys playing. Like I said, if you're a fan, you better get a program because there's going to be some new faces out there Saturday.
To the right.
Rusty Burson, 12-Man Magazine. Going back to last year, Coach, was there a temptation to redshirt Mike Matthews? And then I guess how much did he gain by not being redshirted?
Redshirting is a philosophy. We had a discussion this morning about guys that were going to play, guys that aren't going to play, and I just kind of we felt as a plan, at certain positions, it's better, with losing Pat. We knew Pat was leaving. I much rather would have Mike get game experience, practice with our team, play in games, so that starting this year, it wouldn't be completely new to him. He'd have an idea of what the pressure is like to prepare and the pressure is like to play in the SEC. And he was able to play in a lot of games last year, and particularly have to be ready to be the next man up if something happened to Pat, which is hard to do as a true freshman, but took some pressure off of him. So now there's no doubt, looking at him in the spring, he's more comfortable with that. So, we made the decision we'd rather have a guy who is a possible 3-year starter at center with some experience than a 4-year guy with no experience. And I think in this situation, and at certain positions, that's definitely the case. We'd much rather do that. And very, very rarely are you able to do that with a position like center. He was undersized last year, but he worked his way into it. He's up to 280, 285 now. And we've been pleased with his progress. So that's a little bit of the redshirting philosophy. We had that discussion this morning with a number of players. About a number of players, of whether, how do you get better? By sitting and practicing the other teams we play against plays for a year, put them in the weight room, or do you get better by playing and preparing and every week and having to deal with the mental pressure that goes along with having to be prepared to go in the game at any time. And so we've got a number of players that are right on that edge right now. We're making that decision this week. And, the guys that you see get on the field Saturday, they're the guys we're going with. And, that's kind of the way we made the decision with Mike.
Sam, you'll be our last question here on the left, and Coach got to go.
Kevin, can you describe the uniqueness of some of the challenges that you've faced throughout this offseason and leading into this season, especially with as much off-the-field attention and the increase in attention that your program has received over the last year?
Well, that's the increase in attention has been, in some ways, it's been great. I'm very, very fortunate to be the head football coach at Texas A&M, and all the things that go along with that. I realize where we are. I realize, playing in the SEC brings about a lot of enthusiasm from our fan base and across the country. We've worked very hard in the last 18 months to try to get this program to be relevant and play in relevant and meaningful games on the biggest stage. All that comes along with it. So the management of that is something that you want as a coach. Some of the other issues that have come up, that's, you hope those don't happen, but when they do, it's your job to try to get them fixed and move on. Like I said, our focus right now is getting our team ready to play Rice. And I think our approach last year, which might sound like coach speak, but it's the only way I know how to do it, is to try to be 1-0 this week. And the next week we'll reset that, and we'll try to be 1-0 the week after that. But our guys understand how we prepare, how we do things. The way that guys who may or may not be starting have to prepare to be able to play. And we depend on each other in that. So, your question's a two-part question. Yeah, the excitement, everything else that goes along with it, yeah, we've had to manage that from the beginning. I think a lot of the things that are going on internally right now are different than the perception that's outside. And I'm very, very pleased with how our players have handled it. I'm pleased how our coaches have handled it. And I think more than anything else, they're looking forward to playing football Saturday at noon.